Hi everyone, I am here in Paris and I'm here for a legal English conference about legal linguistics, which I will be speaking at. But whilst I was here, I thought, why don't I do a little bit of legal sightseeing? So I'm going to go into Paris and try to visit some famous sites as well as some legal sites. So join me as we go legal sightseeing. Hello, I'm here at the University of Nanterre, which is one of the largest and most prestigious universities in France. It's also really well known for its law department, which is actually directly behind me, and the law faculty offer quite innovative courses, for example, double degrees in law and languages, law and humanities. They offer courses giving options to study the English common law system, so it's quite an interesting place to study. As well as that, it's really renowned for being a left-wing university, and it was the centre of the May 1968 student rebellion, which saw huge protests across France and also in other countries in Europe against consumerism and capitalism. So the Faculty of Law has some quite famous alumni. Nicolas Sarkozy, the former president of France, studied a Master's of Law here. David Guetta, the famous DJ and producer, studied law here. And Christine Lagarde, the head of the International Monetary Fund, also studied a Master's in Language and Law here. So lots of famous alumni. Now, the law building is actually named after Simone Weil, who was a very renowned politician here and also a very renowned lawyer. And she was also a survivor of Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. Throughout her career, she made many strides for women's rights. She gained contraceptive rights, adoptive parental rights, and also some rights to abortion. So she really pioneered women's rights in France. So now I'm going to head into Paris and see some other legal sites.
Jaloux soleil contre amour envieux, soleil masqué par une face blêmie, qui par 3 jours a retenu mamie, seul au logis par un temps pluvieux. Je ne crois plus tant d'amour que les vieux chantent de toi, ce n'est que poésie, si lu jadis touchait ta fantaisie, d'un même mal tu serais soucieux.
So on my way into Paris from the University of Nanterre, I decided to stop here at this famous site, the Arc de Triomphe, which, although perhaps is not a particularly legal-related site to see, it is, of course, one of the most famous sites in Paris, and it is a monument to those who fought and died in the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. Directly in front of the Arc de Triomphe is the Champs-Elysees, which is a long, very long avenue of shops, theatres, cafes, and a very famous street in Paris, which I'm going to walk along now.
Un mirage à travers
I'm just walking down the Champs-Elysees. I had to put my hat on because it's actually quite cold here in Paris. And yeah, it's a long street. There are lots of cafes, lots of luxury shops and theatres. And I stopped and had a cup of coffee here. Just be careful because I'm used to buying coffees for like €1 in Italy, and here obviously it was quite expensive, so just be warned. So hopefully I'm going to get to the end of this street and get to the next site. So on the way down from the Champs-Elysees, you'll come across the Petit Palais, and here in front of it you'll find the most recent work of Jeff Koons. It's called the Bouquet of Tulips. It's a sculpture around 40 feet high, and it was made to commemorate the 2015 and 2016 terrorist attacks, to pay tribute to the victims who lost their lives in those attacks. It's a controversial piece of artwork. Some people say that it's wonderful, that the colours represent the colours of life, that it's a symbol of hope, of peace, of freedom, and other people say that it's disgusting and horrible, and that the tulips represent like big balloons of marshmallows. So although this is not exactly a legal site, I thought that it was worth pointing out, and now I'm going to go to the Île de la Cité. Don't think I've pronounced that quite right. On my walk from the Jeff Koons statue, I'm continuing on to get to the Île de la Cité, and on my way I thought I'd read to you some fun legal facts about French law. I found a good blog post on a website called annieandre.com, and she lists some 21 weird, strange and funny French laws in France. The first one she mentions is that it's one that's cited in lots of these kind of blog posts about weird laws in France, and it's that you can't call your pig Napoleon. However, she says that this actually isn't a law because she couldn't find any things to back up these claims that it is actually a law. So don't worry, if you have a pig and you live in France and you want to call it Napoleon, I don't think you're going to get arrested. What a relief. So now we've got some laws which apparently are true, and the first one is that it's perfectly legal in France to marry a dead person. Okay. Apparently number 2 is that it was illegal until 2013 for women to wear pants in Paris. Okay, by pants I think the American use of the word is used here and not the British use of the word. It's one to not get confused with. Pants means in American English what we would call in British English trousers. And I'm glad that this is no longer prohibited because I certainly am wearing trousers today. Wouldn't want to get arrested. Number 3 is that apparently 40% of the music played on French radio stations must be played in the French language. Not a bad law because the French language is such a beautiful language. I do love the sound of it, even though my pronunciation when I try to speak it is absolutely terrible. Number 4, no alcohol is allowed in a place of work in France, except for, there's an exception clause here, except for beer, wine, cider and poiré. I don't know what poiré is, but my guess would be that it's kind of like a cider made from pears. Am I correct? Okay, and number 5, ketchup is pretty much banned in school cafeterias in France. Kind of, sort of. Apparently it's just been restricted, so I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because ketchup is indeed not very healthy. So those are some 5 fun facts about French laws. And now I'm just going under a bridge, and I'll be coming back out again soon. Here we go, and I'll show you the view. Behind me is Pont Neuf, the oldest bridge in Paris, which connects this side of the river to the other side, and also in the middle we have Île de la Cité. So I'm going to cross over and head over to the historical and legal centre of Paris. So I'm here on Île de la Cité in the centre of Paris. It's the historical centre of Paris. It's where Paris first began, and nowadays it's a really important spot for the legal system, because behind me is the Palais de Justice. And here on this island you can find the Palais de Justice, the Conciergerie and Sainte-Chapelle, 3 major sites to see here. In terms of the legal system, the Palais de Justice is worth visiting, as well as the Conciergerie. Now, the Palais de Justice is actually directly behind me. This is one side of the Palais de Justice. You enter on the other side. This particular building directly behind me is what houses the Court d'Appel, the Court of Appeal of Paris, and as well inside the Palais de Justice you also find the Supreme Court of Paris, and there are various hearing rooms, courtrooms inside. You can visit, it's free, you have to go through security checks to get in, and there's not a huge amount of information. In fact, there's no information inside, so you're free to walk around. I believe you're able to go inside to watch some trials take place. However, there's not information there, so you're not going to learn a lot about the legal system if you go inside. Having said that, if you go next door to the Conciergerie, you will find lots of information. The Conciergerie is Paris's oldest prison. It's famous for being the prison of Marie Antoinette, imprisoning Marie Antoinette before she was executed. And inside, so it used to be a prison, now it's a museum. It's got lots of information about the legal system, about the penal system, about the prison system, and about the history of Paris, including what happened during the Revolution. And it's got lots of information in both French and English. Sainte-Chapelle is next door. It's in between these two places, and you have to pay to get in. And there it's a beautiful chapel. It's not really related to the legal system. The Conciergerie costs around €10 to get in, but it's certainly worth a visit. So that was quite a long day of sightseeing. I hope that you found that useful, and if you visit Paris that you will be able to visit some of those sites. If you know of any legal English sites that you think are worth visiting, then send me an email. Send me an email to louise@studylegalenglish.com, or you can leave a message in the section below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.